Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm curious as to why perhaps, and I'm not a, quote, religious person. I consider myself to be very spiritual, but not, I don't attend church. I don't belong to a particular denomination. But I'm curious as to the fact why there's so much talk about this, and yet God, the word God, never seems to like enter as even not just as like a mind fixation on God or pushing it down people's throats, but as an idea as, hey, have we thought that it might be God? You know, is that such an inconceivable theory that it might be a supreme being saying that, yes, this is God? I mean, I don't hear a lot of that, and to me, it's not to say that it is God. Do you know what I mean? Or not to say, yes, I think it's God and I'm going to push this down your throat. But I don't even hear his name ever come into it, and that makes me wonder as to why, because I'm curious.
Well, actually, I do hear that quite often. People say that the way they interpret this experience is that after this they have no doubt about the existence of a God. But much as you're conveying there about your own religion, I also hear people by and large saying that this isn't a religious experience per se in terms of denomination, because what I hear all the time from people who go through this is that they say, well, whatever their religious background or lack of it had been up to this point, and they come out of this and they say that what they realize is that denomination has nothing to do with it, that they become, as I hear often, attuned to all the great religious traditions.
Right, but we still, I don't hear, and when I've read books, because I believe what you're saying is true, that if in fact, because I've had an experience, an incredible experience of this man sitting across the table who felt like it was like almost like Christ-like. And again, I don't belong to a denomination, but I think for some reason we're so scared of saying God because we've almost gone to the other extreme of secularism, if you will, and it's almost, oh, God forbid we should say God because somebody's going to think we're either A, going to shove it down their throat, B, become a holy roller, or you know what I'm saying? And I find that that's a little disturbing because maybe, in fact, hey, we need to get back to the center and somehow believe, yes, in fact, when I am in the bathroom or when I am in my bedroom, there, in fact, could be a being or a sense of consciousness that is watching everything I do. And I don't think that that's really a negative thing insofar as it is to aspire to become perhaps a better, more loving, better human being in our own sense of who we are, to say, hey, maybe somebody is watching me. Maybe I should become a better person and be more forgiving of ourselves. So therefore, when we see our neighbor, we don't condemn him or her. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm coming from that angle, is what I'm saying, and I'm through. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Like in Alabama, when somebody asks, are you a Christian? You have to ask, well, do you mean Jesus or Jesus? Yes, I do think by and large people do come out of this with, talking in terms of God. Yes.
You touched on ancient Greeks talking about this over the dinner table, and that they had a way of inducing this state.
Yes.
Recently, I saw on television an anesthesiologist, he was from Sweden, you mentioned, from a country close by there, not Sweden, but said that some of his patients, when they used a particular kind of anesthetic, had this same experience. And I'm wondering, how does that correlate? I mean, you read about these Indian natives, they've all taken some sort of chemical to do these out-of-body things. How does that relate to your experiences as physicians hearing this?
What he was asking about specifically is a medication, an anesthetic, which is associated with profound experiences of a mystical nature, and what that's called is ketamine. And yes, it does bring about altered states of awareness, which are comparable, according to some, to near-death experiences. When you look at the history of shamanism generally and so on, really the holy traditions of many societies have incorporated this, whereby various kinds of compounds have been used in these religious ceremonies and so on to bring about these states. Is it about time? I think.
Yeah, maybe one or two more questions.
One or two more questions. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious, you mentioned that the majority of, if not all of the people were treated on the other side by loved ones.
Yes.
And you mentioned the physical aspect. Does anybody ever talk about a sense of knowing who that is without describing them physically?
Yes. She was asking about this part of the experience where people say that they meet up with relatives or friends who've passed away, and I didn't emphasize that as I was talking about that, but indeed, yeah. People say that in this situation, it's not really the, quote, physical, unquote, appearance of that person you see, so much as an inner awareness or an inner sense of the identity of that person that they experience. And one more. Yes, ma'am.
If you're recruiting us, can we get a little bit more?
Yeah, we need information.
So we need to sign up for these classes like at night here in regular students. How do we get here?
Well, actually, I think this probably involves a trip over to the registrar's office, and they would handle it. Yes.
Would you expound between your Monday, Wednesday, Friday class and your Wednesday seminar? What's the difference?
What's the difference? I suspect this is what will happen from past experience. I suspect, although this is not hard and fast, but that probably the morning classes will be, I gather, probably more heavily with students who are here during the day, who are there pursuing curiosity. And then it would probably be more people from the community in the evening who are there after work, perhaps older. But I don't know, and there probably will be a little difference in the content, but I intend to shape this entirely based on what I hear from the students on the first day as to what they would need. One thing that we will be doing in this course, incidentally, is I'll be presenting to you an entirely new way of thinking about the study of these kinds of experiences. And I want to issue a little challenge here, or not maybe a prediction. I'm pretty confident that this is true, although it may sound like bragging, but it's really not, as you'll see in the context. I have a suspicion that for these courses, that if you'll really stick with me and think through some of this stuff, that I feel that in this coming semester, we could really sort of come together better experts on paranormal than most of these people who go around proclaiming that they're experts. And please, I'm not being bragging here, because that's a very modest claim, believe me, because there has, the thinking in this field is not very persuasive, and I think we're going to be looking at this in a whole different way, and I think an entirely new way of approaching the study of this. And as I said, I'm not making a spectacular claim that we're going to be better experts than the so-called experts, because I was so surprised shortly after my book Life After Life was published, and as a student of philosophy who doesn't regard myself as an expert in anything, suddenly I saw myself referred to in the press as an expert on the life after death and so on. So that kind of startled me, and I got to thinking, well, what is it I'm supposed to be an expert on? So I thought about it a little bit, and I decided, well, hey, I'm an expert on the unknown. I don't even know what kind of briefcase an expert on the unknown. And I think we're going to have a good time. My aim for these classes is two things, Mike. Number one, that we learn a lot of interesting stuff, and that number two, we have a really good time doing it.